You know, it's funny, as I was sitting there, do it anyway, live it, whoa, got it. Love it, do it, believe it anyway. And you know, I was sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, that's an interesting concept. Anyway can be taken two different ways. Anyway, do it anyway regardless, or do it any way you can. Love any way you can. Succeed any way you can. So there's two ways of looking at that. So this song is all about doing what is yours to do no matter what. In the face of all that may come along, whatever contradiction may come along, to say you can't or you shouldn't, or maybe it won't work out, do it anyway. So the question is, do we really disregard what's staring us in the face when something comes along and says, don't do that? Now, a lot of people sometimes run into things without actually looking at what's staring them in the face, and sometimes that doesn't work out so good. So this song really isn't about saying, just do it anyway, no matter what you see. It's really not that. It's about getting a really clear, spiritually logical consciousness involved in living your life, so that you can in fact see everything and still do what is yours to do. And that's really what I want to talk about again. We don't disregard what's staring us in the face, but we put more of our attention on what's staring us in the heart. And that's the title of my talk today. What's staring you in the heart? What do you have going on right now inside of you that is literally staring you right in the heart and saying, notice me, pay attention to me. I am you. You are me. What is staring you in the heart? What is yours to do? What is mine to do? Do you ever wonder if you're actually doing what is yours to do on this planet, in this world? In Science of Mind, we teach that every single one of us has a choice. We are always at choice. And I loved what Reverend Nancy said. If my life isn't mine to choose, whose is it? Is it my children's to choose for me? Is it my family's to choose for me? I have a brother who's also a born-again minister. He's not just a born-again Christian. He's a minister for Jimmy Swaggart's church. And and I talk about him a lot because we have come to an understanding. Well, certainly, now when he says, how's your personal relationship with Jesus? I can say, really good. And leave it at that. Truly, because it really is. My relationship with Jesus is so spiritually intact. I have a better relationship with Jesus now than I ever did as a Catholic and than I ever did as a Christian. I have a better understanding now than I ever had. So, choice. We teach choice. So, do you really know that you are at choice and that you have a choice to be doing what you want to do with your life? Do you know that you are at choice to be living the life you want to live right now? Or, and this is a question, I don't ever want you to think that I have the answers and you don't. True as that may be. I don't want you to think it. No, it's not true. I don't ever want you to think that I'm up here telling you this is how you have to do it, because I go through the exact same struggles you do. They may not be the exact same ones, but I still have the same questions, and I still have to look at them myself just like you do. So when I ask you, do you know that it's your choice to be living the life you want to live, you may be sitting there saying to yourself, well, I don't actually feel right now like I'm at choice. I have to be doing this. And most of the time that comes when it's about jobs. I have to be doing the job I'm doing right now, because if I weren't doing the job I'm doing right now, I wouldn't have the money to pay my bills. Now, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but you know who you are. We know who we are when we have those kind of limitations put on our lives. And we suddenly don't feel like we're at choice, and yet Science of Mind is teaching us we are at choice at all times. Every single second of every single day, I am at choice to know what I need to know, to think what I need to think, and as Nancy said, what we do in CPR and mental muscle, to go in and find out what beliefs are still running the show, so much so that I don't even feel a choice to think what I'm thinking. and then extract them, pull them out. So today it's really not about choices for me today. It's really about, today's talk is really about what's behind the choices. What's directing the choices you make, and always that's going to be the beliefs you have. What beliefs do you have inside of you? So I had a whole plan for today's talk on the plane on the way back here. And some of it will still be used, but something came up on CPR this morning. As I was going to do CPR this morning, there's a quote that I use all the time in CPR. I use it all the time in teaching. Oh, can I have my water, Kev? It's right under you. And I looked up the quote because I thought I had gotten a word wrong in the quote. Thank you. And I'd gotten one of the words wrong in the quote I'd been using. And not only had I gotten the word wrong, I'd gotten the punctuation wrong, which was really even more important for what I'm about to read to you. So when that happened and I found it, I went, well, what's the rest of this quote? If I got that little part wrong, what's the rest of this quote? So I have the whole quote for you today by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it's this. The quote is, and this is the quote I've been using for years, and I know you've heard it. There is no great and no small to the soul that maketh all. Okay? There is no great and no small to the soul that maketh all. Isn't that a beautiful sentence? It's a great point. There is no big and little. There is no great and small. To the mind that maketh all. To that within me that is the allness of life. We're the ones that put the limitations on our lives, as Nancy said. We're the ones that put the walls up and say, well, I'm this. I am this. But that's kind of not the way the quote goes. I know, really, after all these years. Oh, God. So, there is no great and no small, but there's a period there. I never saw the period. I didn't. There is no great and no small, period. End of sentence. Wow. For me, I was like, wow, okay. So there's no great and no small. We're making that up. How's the rest of this go then? Here's how the rest of it goes. To the soul that maketh all, and where it cometh, all things are, and it cometh everywhere. To the soul that maketh all, to that in me that creates everything, and wherever I put it, wherever it goes, all things are possible, and it's possible everywhere I look. That's what he's saying. To the soul that maketh all, and where it cometh, all things are, and it cometh everywhere. But it doesn't stop there, because Emerson wrote a lot. And this is from his essay on history. It goes on, and here's the rest of this, and this is all one idea. He says, I am the owner of the sphere. And we just came out of ownership in CPR. I am the owner of the sphere. I am the owner of the allness of life. Of the 7 stars and the solar year, of Caesar's hand and Plato's brain, of Lord Jesus Christ's heart and Shakespeare's strain, I am the owner. It's just not enough to go with those little sentences, is it? There is no great and no small in the soul that maketh all. No, there is no great and there's no small. And here's why. Because right where I am, the allness of life. Okay, wow, that was fast. Now you got to turn this one on, Don. I have to think about what I was just saying that caused that. Right where I am is the allness of life, if I am connected to it. If I have it turned on in my mind. If I have the tools I need to come and make sure that I am thinking what I need to be thinking. And if those tools are gentle. Are we good? Yes, that is Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay on history. I am the owner of the sphere. So I just love this idea that Emerson has said Emerson has said, it is up to you and it is up to me to become the owner of my life. The owner of the allness of my life. So that would say to me, I think sometimes, and I know we talk about this in CPR, that we lose things constantly. That we are always dropping our thoughts in the wrong place. Yes? So, what that says to me is, and we talked about this the other day too, talk about ownership. I love this concept. How many of you are doing CPR? Okay, so you have heard this. There's an awful lot of squatters in your head, in my head. Do you notice that? Even though I'm the owner, there's a lot of squatters in there, not even paying rent. And do you ever notice that the people that don't pay rent are the ones that take the most energy out of you? The people that actually don't, there we are. The ones that don't pay for what they actually know they need to get, the ones that think they can get it for free, they're the ones that just suck all the energy out of you. And that's what we're talking about today. If you're going to be the owner of your life, you need to get rid of the squatters. If you're going to be the owner of your life, you need to start really, I keep saying you, we need to start owning what it is we're thinking, what it is we're saying. If I own it all, then how come I continually struggle to buy things? Think about that. If I own everything, why do I keep thinking there's so much more I need to buy? I need to get. How come I am still trying to get? How many times have you heard yourself saying, I just need to get this teaching. I need to get this teaching. You are this teaching. Every single one of us was born into the authority of our own life. Somewhere along the line, we bought into a concept that we are not God, and that God is separate from us, and that our entire life is about the journey back to God. Well, I'm here to tell you, and I get very emotional about this. I am not spending the rest of my life trying to get back to God. I am spending the rest of my life coming from God. And that's our duty. That's what we're here to do. To know who we are so fully, so powerfully, that we're not trying to get anything. When Reverend Nancy said, she just turned 80 and all of a sudden she spent some time living in the, oh my God, I'm going to be 90. Well, you know what? You're also going to be 100. That's not so far away either. And you're also going to be 110, right? And if you want, you're going to be 120. And 80 is going to look like springtime, right? So why live in the doldrums of here, which, by the way, shouldn't be doldrum anyway, worrying that this is going to happen someday? My son who's on this beautiful postcard, he's been rehearsing for weeks to make this his debut in a world premiere play, and then they found a cyst on his neck, and he had to have it taken out instantly on Friday, which meant he's not in the play for a few weeks. So, you know what, though? Life unfolds perfectly, doesn't it? I either believe life is unfolding perfectly or I don't. And if I believe that life is unfolding perfectly, but this time it's screwed up, how many of you have that going on in your head at times, right? Right where I am, God is, except not there. Everyone is God, not her. Whoa. No. The minute I do that, I'm living this dualistic life, and I start letting it in, don't I? If I want to see duality, man, can I find it. Can't you? Can't you just find duality when you really go looking for it? Well, then we also should be able to find God whenever we go looking for it, because we're looking for it with what it is. So Will is doing great. He had the operation. He's doing just great. He's very excited, yes. Right? So he was on Facebook instantly. He had his cell phone in, because I ended up being in New York when it happened. And I was walking the streets of New York with, I'm up to Fifth Avenue. I had to go over to Unity, and it was packed. And I'm walking down Fifth Avenue, and it's packed, and there's people everywhere. Conversations are coming in and out of my head. And I'm thinking, my little boy is on an operating table right now. How did I end up on the streets of New York when that happened? Really, I had that moment. And I pulled myself into Saks, a little shopping. And you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. So I did. Retail therapy. No, and they didn't have what I wanted. So But while I was in Saks, I stood there, it wasn't as crowded for a moment, and I thought to myself, if I believe that my life is unfolding perfectly, then there is a divine perfection to me being in New York and him being in Los Angeles. Me being in Saks and him being in an operating room. There's a divine right order to that. And then a text came through with a picture of him getting ready to go into the operating room. And then he called me. He wanted my prayer, my meditation to take him in. You know, if I had been there, he probably would have not even paid attention to me. So I got it. You know, there is a divine right order to every aspect of your life if you believe that. If you let that be the center of your life. So today on CPR, I heard myself say, are you giving yourself to your life? Are you giving yourself over to your life? Or are you looking to see what you're going to get out of life? There are two consciousnesses in this world. There's only one mind, but you can use it in a myriad of ways. One way to use it is to walk through life saying, how can I give? Another way is to say, what's mine to get? And most people live somewhere in the middle. And I'm here this morning to talk to all of us, including myself, about stepping ourselves back far enough to find a way to really understand what this thing, love only, means. Because I'm not saying getting is a bad thing, but when our focus is on what can I get out of life, we have it backwards. We absolutely have it backwards. And I believe that those are the people that are struggling the most. The consciousness of what can I get? What's mine? What's mine here? Those are the people that struggle the most. And it's not, again, hear me, it's not about getting being a bad thing. You know, when I talk about what's staring you in the heart, what's staring you in the heart is this divine desire in you to give, to just let it out, to let yourself out, to be used by Spirit, to let your life be used for greatness. I love that Jerry Jewell is here this morning. That those of you that know Jerry Jewell from The Facts of Life, she has her autobiography out. And she'll be on PBS tonight at midnight doing an interview, right? Yes. And I read her book because she asked me to read it, to give her a quote, and it just blew me away. Talk about a woman who came into life, had certain set of conditions that she had, and then said, "Theh," to the conditions, and moved on and is having the most incredible life. And her life is about giving her life to us, sharing her life with us. And I think a lot of us spend our time looking at the conditions, getting caught up in that so much that we don't let this divine desire in us out. So there's this trap we have, the trap of getting. And if you hear this today and you think, wow, okay, I guess I do try to get a lot, then listen. Just listen to that. Not as you're doing something wrong, as there might be another way. There is a trap in getting. Prosperity comes to us. It comes to us when we focus on what there is to give. Prosperity does not come to us because we focus on what is there to get. It's about giving. So I had a business partner once, and her philosophy was, what's in it for me? That's what she would say to me, right, Kevin? All the time. I'd say, blah, 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 blah. She goes, great, what's in it for me? And I remember at the time, I was studying with Dr. Butterworth at the time, but I remember in the time that there was a thing in that just didn't feel right. I didn't understand it at the time, though. I didn't get it at the time. I was like, well, no, I get it. And you know, our teaching very, very often is called the gimme, gimme church. Do you know that? They talk about Science of Mind and the New Thought churches being the church of getting. Wow, that is so wrong. It is just so wrong. I felt like Buddhism was the church of getting when I was a Broadway Buddhist. A Broadway Buddhist. I was, with Michael Bennett, all of us, you know, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho. We would put our Gahanzen up and then write the list of what we wanted to get out of this. You know? Now, that's also not Buddhism, but somehow that was my idea of Buddhism. So we are not here to get. You know, as suggested in today's lyrics, I have a great one. When you think you have nothing to give, give it anyway. Because I think a lot of us feel we don't have enough to give, or we don't have something to offer. Well, you know what? Give it anyway. Offer it anyway. Who cares if no one wants it? Just offer it. Just give it. Ernest Holmes said this, "It is only as we allow the divine current to flow through us, in and out, that we really express life." And he went on to write, when a man's thought, I love this, when a man's thought rests entirely upon himself, and this is man and woman, he becomes abnormal and unhappy. When our thoughts rest solely on ourselves, what can I get? What's in it for me? How can I make this happen for me? Right? He says you become abnormal and unhappy. And I can tell you, that is the man I began life as when I reached probably puberty. That's who I was. It is not who I am now. And I'm not sad that I was that person who really wanted what I could get and really went out and got what I wanted. But I was never happy. So it has to tell you something. And I'm incredibly happy now. So, he goes on to say, but when he gives himself with enthusiasm and to any legitimate purpose, losing himself in the thing which he is doing, he becomes normal and happy. When he gives himself, not when he gets for himself. It's not, I become happy and normal when I get, everything is mine to get. It's when I give myself that I become happy. How many of you have just been sublimely happy when you were doing something, just something simple and silly, and you were just so happy because you were doing it? I was on the plane yesterday, and there was I didn't have my headphones in. I was trying to sleep, and I was watching this screen, and it was about tree houses. Anybody see that TV show? It's called Build a Treehouse or something. I mean, there's everything on TV now. But this guy's building this treehouse, and I watched him, without listening, watched him build the treehouse from nothing to the treehouse. I just kept waking up and going, oh, they're farther along. Sleep. It was amazing. And I thought to myself, I would love to build a treehouse. I would love to live in a treehouse. And they did it by these 4 trees. They found 4 trees and built the treehouse with the 4 trees as their 4 sides, anchors. It was awesome. And I thought to myself, what else is inside of me that has this feeling of, this would make me so incredibly happy to actually get my hands dirty and build a treehouse? But I have bigger things to do. I have to balance QuickBooks. I have to make money. I have to blah, 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 blah. And yet there's so much stuff inside of us that is just saying, you want to be happy? How about trying this? How about doing this? How about giving yourself over in such a way that you can't help but be happy? That's the thing that is looking at us. That is what is staring us right in the heart. Not what we get for ourselves, but what can we give to ourselves. You and I have to give ourselves to the life that we say we want. Every single one of you sitting here today has some life that you say you want. I would like to know that you are all living it right now. And we all are living the life we say we want, because whatever we're living, somewhere along the line, we said we want it. And we made choices. So whatever life you're living, you have said you want it. This idea that I want this, but I'm not getting this, is absolutely wrong. It is off principle. It is not scientific. In science, you are living the exact life you want. If you think you want another life, you have to think the thoughts backed by the beliefs that will attract that life to you. That's how it works scientifically. So you have to use your mind in such a way that creates exactly what it is you want. And every time a contradiction comes along, you must deal with it. You can't let these contradictions keep filling your head and expect your life to go in another direction. Ernest Holmes said, love is the self-givingness of spirit through the desire of life to express itself in terms of creation. Love only. If I'm going to love only, what is love? Love is the self-givingness of spirit. Love is that energy in me that wants to give, because it has a desire to express itself in terms of creativity. That's what love is, an energy that is in you, ready to just bubble up and move out, ready to create everything you want to create. You find it in your mind, you find it in your heart, you find it in your relationships, you find it in your work, you find it everywhere you go. To love only means to create on purpose what is yours to create. As we get towards the end of this month, I want to get so clear on what it means to love only. Because I know we've had a lot of fun conversations about, how can I love only when so-and-so does this to me? How can I love only when that happens? That's not what it means. Love only means that you tap into that in you, the self-givingness of spirit that just wants to create what you want to create. So, I've come to realize something, and it was pretty profound for me when I got it, and it's this. I've taught a lot about giving and receiving being both sides of the coin, and that you only receive what you give. You can only receive what you are willing to give. And yes, that's scientifically true, but you know what? Science is meant to go beyond. Science is meant to improve, to expand. So I'm going to offer something here today, and it's this. I do not believe there is any such thing as receiving. There's no such thing as receiving. There isn't. It's an experiential thing, I suppose, but in scientific world, there's no such thing as receiving. And here's why I think this. There's only giving, because if the universe is constantly giving, and if I am constantly giving, then it's not that I ever receive, it's that there is always giving coming this way, and there's always giving coming this way. So receiving really is just the illusion we create in our lives. This whole idea that I'm receiving. No, if I'm constantly giving, I won't even notice the receiving. I'm just going to be living from this place of giving at all times, and the universe is going to just keep giving, giving, giving. And yes, it is based on the equality in my mind. So to the degree that I am able to and willing to just give, I give to the universe gives to me in perfect proportion. To the degree that I am willing to just give, how can I best be used? To the degree that I am willing to just be used by this universe and be willing to give, just give. To that degree will I be living in this energy of giving. I don't even have to deal with the receiving end of it. So this whole concept of getting is really a trap. It's really a way for us to detour away from what life is really meant to be about. So instead of what's in it for me, how about what's in me to give? What's in me to give? I truly believe that this will unlock the door of prosperity. I really do. Love only, give only, and then see what happens. And even if it feels challenging, even if these ideas feel a little challenging, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with receiving, but I think if we go back to the sentence, there is no great and no small, period. There is no giving and receiving. There is just giving. And if I can keep my mind in that place of this divine energy of giving, oh my God, what must my life be like if I am 24/7 giving? The universe, responding perfectly, is 24/7 giving right back at me. And that's how life expands, and prosperity is the new normal. So I invite you, try that this week. See where you find yourself trying to get something. See where you compromise your giving by saying, well, what am I going to get out of this? See what happens when you really come from a place of just giving, and watch how the universe responds. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.